March 1, 1896, dawn breaks over the Ethiopian highlands. Thousands of men line up, ready to face the impossible. For centuries, foreign powers believed Africa would bow to their rule. But today, Ethiopia, a nation never colonized, stands as the last line of defiance. On one side, Italy, armed with modern artillery and the full might of a European empire. On the other, an army of Ethiopians united by one thing: a fierce resolve to defend their land. But what they're about to do is something no one in Europe could have predicted. This is the Battle of Adwa, where Africa changed the course of history. To understand Adwa, we need to go back. Italy, like other European nations, had set its eyes on Africa, seeing it as a land ripe for conquest. But Ethiopia wasn't just any kingdom. It was an ancient empire, led by a ruler who wouldn't go down without a fight. Menelik II, the Emperor of Ethiopia. Known as a wise leader, a brilliant strategist, and a man willing to do anything to protect his nation's freedom. The Italians thought they could trick him into submission, signing a treaty they claimed was a friendship pact. But in reality, a plot to turn Ethiopia into an Italian colony Menelik saw through their game. And in 1896, he rallied his people to fight. What happened next would shake Italy to its core. Menelik called upon every Ethiopian. Farmers, priests, soldiers, all answered. They gathered with whatever weapons they could find: spears, swords, even a few rifles. But they had one advantage that Italy could never understand: the fierce loyalty of their people and the rugged mountainous terrain of Ethiopia, perfect for guerrilla warfare. Meanwhile, the Italians were overconfident. To them, this was another simple colonial campaign, another conquest. But they had no idea that this would be no ordinary fight. Their commanders underestimated the strength of Menelik's strategy and the dedication of his people. In the early hours of March 1st, the Italians marched into the mountains of Adwa, unaware that Ethiopian soldiers were waiting, hidden in the hills, watching their every move. The signal was given. The Ethiopians attacked from every side, pouring down the slopes like a force of nature. The Italians tried to hold their line, but nothing could prepare them for this. The Ethiopian forces were relentless. Menelik's strategy was brilliant, using the terrain to isolate the Italians, cutting off their reinforcements and demoralizing them at every turn. In just hours, the Italian army was broken. Some soldiers fled, others surrendered. By day's end, nearly 7,000 Italian troops lay dead, wounded, or captured. For Italy, this defeat was more than a military disaster. It was a national humiliation. But for Ethiopia, it was a moment of triumph. The Battle of Adwa wasn't just a victory for Ethiopia, it was a message to the world. It shattered the myth of European invincibility and inspired other African nations to resist colonial forces. Menelik and Ethiopia stood as symbols of freedom, defying the odds, refusing to submit. Their courage at Adwa lit a spark across the continent, a beacon of hope for those fighting for their independence. And so in the highlands of Adwa, Africa had its day, a day that said, loud and clear, that it was not to be conquered without a fight. The Battle of Adwa would go down in history as a moment of African pride and resilience, a story that defied the empire and changed the course of history forever.